Hey there, and welcome to the People Who Help People podcast. This is the spot for HR and people ops pros who are all about building better businesses by putting people first. We chat with founders and experts who've been there, done that, and are generous enough to share what actually works. Thanks for listening, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Hello again. Today I'm happy to be speaking with Sherry Knight, President and CEO at Dimension 11, about driving growth. Sherry is a business breakthrough coach with a motto where people thrive, profits soar. An international keynote speaker and coach, Sherry delivers presentations and workshops on being unstoppable, leadership, team building, customer service, and communications. Welcome to the podcast, Sherry, and
Thank
welcome,
you.
Columbus.
Yes, Columbus. He decides every time we're on show to be part of the show.
Why not? Why not? This is episode number 33 of our podcast, and this is the first time that we've had a feline guest, but I've had multiple podcasts where I've had two guests, so Columbus counts as the second guest. Doesn't get his own camera, though.
He generally leaves quite quickly, so there you go.
Okay, once he gets bored of my questions. Sherry, if you could, you've been leading Dimension 11 for a number of years. Tell me a little bit about the background of Dimension 11, the services you provide, and, well, gosh, how you got started.
Yeah, long story, actually. I was sitting in the Vancouver airport and sitting there thinking, I'm starting this company, I need a name for it. And so the name gelled by the time I got on a plane, and that was Dimension, the various dimensions of the human being. And the 11, in my mind, the infinity of the number one and the infinity of the human being to develop to their full potential. And just a few years ago, I found out that apparently the number 11 is a mastery number in numerology. And I'm sorry, I don't know what that means, but it sounded kind of good to me. So, from that perspective. But how I got started, I used to be a school teacher, loved every minute of it. And one day I had a problem. I walked into the classroom, I flipped on the lights and went, I'm done. I have not one more ounce of energy for these kids. And so it scared the living daylights out of me. I went home that night to think about it because when you've got kids coming in, you haven't got time to think. And so went home, discussed it with my husband, and the next day I walked in with my resignation. This was February. So I walked in and said, I'll be out of here at the end of the year. February, it was too late to leave the kids. And so that was when I decided to leave. But the interesting part about Dimension 11 is that I went and started working for the media. But during that time, I still had teachers coming to me saying, I want to get ahead, but I don't know what to do because I don't have any skills. And I'm thinking, no. As a teacher, you have a tremendous number of skills. And so we would walk through this and I would give them guidance. And then, of course, within a few years, the brain went, this is a business. And so that's when I took the business. It was a part-time business for many years, as do many of us who start our own businesses. It was part-time. And then eventually somebody threw down the gauntlet. I'm showing my age here, but they said, if you don't take this business full-time by the time you're 40, you never will. And I was so insulted. I thought, really? I have a brain. I can think. Like, who are you telling me that? And again, I went home that night and I thought about it. And the next day I walked in and said, I'll be out of here in 2 weeks because my birthday was coming up for 40. And so that's when I took my business full time. The whole thing about helping people grow, helping them with their business grow. We all have ups and downs. Part of the reason I believe I'm so good at what I do is because I've had it all the highs and all the lows. And so because of that, then you make a decision about one foot in front of the other. You know, we talked a bit before we got on here about my book, Unstoppable. Yeah, everybody is ABLE, able at the end of the word unstoppable. But so many times we just give up. We go, it's too hard. And I've done that at times in my life, but I've not done it with my business. Keep one foot in front of the other and keep going. Things change. Just as they changed for the worst, they will change for the better. So that sort of gives you an idea of the beginning of Dimension 11.
Got
And
it.
this is gone.
How long from when you stopped teaching to when you full time committed to the
Oh, that
business?
was about 20 years, 15 to 20 years.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
long time.
Okay. So about 20 years. And where we start is oftentimes not where we finish. So tell me about where you started and how you added services along the way.
Good question. Where I started, when I made that decision and handed in that resignation and said, I'll be out of here in 2 weeks, I scrambled because I wanted to replace my income. And in that 2 weeks, I was able to gather enough work that it would be my first year. So that was just for me, that was very comforting to be able to do that because I was a single person by then. My former husband and I had separated, and I needed to ensure that I was comfortable. I wasn't going to, lose my mortgage or whatever it happened to be. And so, from that perspective, and then when you look forward from there, it took a while, but it was that comfort zone of knowing that I've got things under control. And then when you look as time grows, you change. At that particular time, most of my work was corporate. I worked for large companies and I did mostly training. Then, as time moved forward, I got remarried, my life had changed, etc., doing a lot more work internationally, loving every minute of it. And then my husband got sick. And I realized that when you're working corporately, you are there. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. You are
Yeah.
there. And so I couldn't do that anymore. And so I made the decision then to adjust from the training and facilitation aspect to the consulting role. And with that consulting role, there's more flexibility. People are more comfortable saying, yes, okay, if you can't meet today because something major has happened in your life, then can we meet tomorrow or whatever it happens to be. And then as time moved on from that, I started working primarily with individuals who owned businesses. And so yes, it evolves and we need to. I mean, I've been in business next year, it'll be 50 years that I've been in business and loving every second of it. However, it changes because the audience needs change. And if you don't change with it, pretty soon you're the dinosaur and you're out the door. You've got to think about what works for them. I still do keynotes. I still stand on stages. I still do training. But a lot of what I do today is working one on one with business owners who want to take their business to the next level. And so, based on that, oftentimes it depends on where they are at the moment, right? Because sometimes they have some things in place, but not everything in place. So, one step in front of the other for them and for me in helping.
Got it. So we wanted to talk about driving growth. So when you're working with an individual coaching, how do you grow the business of working with those individuals? How do you approach them?
Number
How do they
one,
find you?
yeah, number one, we start with going back to what systems does the individual need to put into their business. Because the majority of us, self included, I mean, I was smart enough to go and get a very intelligent strategic planner to help me put my business together. But not everybody has that opportunity to do that. And so we need to go back and look at what systems do you have presently in place? What systems do you need to put in place so that you can grow? And one of the challenges, I mean, when my husband and I were working together, we had as many as 32 employees. Well, right now it's me because I decided I did no longer want to look after all of the staff elements. because that's where your biggest problems are. Your biggest challenges come from running a staff. And I thought, I'm tired of that. I don't need that anymore. But looking at it, what are your admin systems that you have set up? What are your communication systems that are set up? What are your financial systems that are set up? Now, here's one for your folks in terms of growing. I always suggest to anybody who's starting a business or you're quite young in their business, your bank account for your business is in a different bank than your personal account. Always. And people look at me and go, that's kind of weird. Like, why would I do that? Well, because when you've got the ups, the banks are thrilled with you. When you've got the downs, the banks want their money and they'll take it from anywhere they can. And so just a simple thing for people to think about. But going through all the various systems, so looking at those and then looking at who is your target audience? What is it that you want to deliver to them? I was working with one client and things were like, okay, they're good, they're not good, and all of a sudden one day we started chatting about the audience that this individual wanted. And it didn't fit with the work they were doing. And the minute we changed that, within a month, they had a 5,000% increase in income just because they had the wrong audience. So there's all those little steps that work together to be able to finally get to where is it that we can begin to grow. And we all have a niche. Are we focused on our niche or are we focused on a number of other things? And we have to make that decision for ourselves. Everybody can tell you what to do and how to do it, etc. It has to fit your business, your lifestyle, all those kinds of things.
Fit your passion and what keeps you curious and coming back and thinking about how can I help
Yes,
how can I help others be successful in my niche?
always. You bet.
Terrific. So here's a very, very specific question. I noticed when I was looking at your website, there's a question and it says, not sure if this coaching is for you. DM try or click here to schedule a meeting with me. Has anybody DM'd you or clicked try? And it sounded like you do a 30-minute free coaching or free coaching consultation. And I'm curious, how have you presented that recently, previously, and does it work?
It's interesting you say that because I am on another podcast next weekend.
Okay.
And they want to know, okay, what are you going to give away, Sherry? And so a couple of things. One, I have a checklist that I think is very helpful for people who are new in business. And then the second thing I said, and you called it a different word, but I use breakthrough. So let's have a breakthrough call. Many people do not take that up because they're afraid of, guess what? You're going to sell them. And that's one of the things I promise never to do. When we are having a breakthrough call, it's what's the challenge that I can help you with? And let's deal with that. And if somebody wants to talk further, great. I will do that on a different call. But if they don't want to talk further, we're done. They've got the answer to what they needed, etc. And when we chat, it's not a case of one solution fits everybody. It's a case of what solution can we have that works for you. So here's 3 or 4 varieties of ways that perhaps you could find a solution, and you get to choose the one you want to do and go do it.
So are you a breakthrough facilitator or are you a breakthrough provider? In other words, are you helping people discover answers that they probably already had? Or oftentimes are you drawing on your experience of coaching many entrepreneurs across many years to say, you know what, I've seen this before and here's the 3 things that I find work best?
I love what you say because, most people want to tell me that their business is different than anybody else's.
Of course.
And I always smile at that because, yes, it is. It's theirs. But
Yes.
no, it isn't because business is business. And it all runs the same way if you want to be successful.
Generally.
Thing.
Yes.
And so from that perspective, yes, I draw on my experience and the experience of the clients that I've had. And sometimes the experience of clients I haven't had that I've chatted with somebody else about and go, oh my gosh, that's really interesting because it's so good or because it's so bad, one or the other, right? But yes, it's all of those things that do make a difference and do matter.
So someone's new in coaching. They want to take your best method for starting up their coaching business. What do you recommend?
Good question. When we look at somebody who's just starting up, the number one thing is get your ducks in a row, right? Get your systems laid down. But if they're starting up and they've got some of those already in place because they've spent a year or 2 years getting organized before they actually start up, then it's a case of, okay, where are we going to go in terms of looking for clientele? So, what's your niche? What are you providing that creates the solution for people who have a need? And so often it's turned around. We look at it and we go, this is my skill. This is what I bring you. I'm sorry. Your clientele does not care. They care if you have a solution for their problem. So it's a little bit of turning it around for people to look at it from a different perspective. And that's a challenge because that's not how most of us think. We think about what we offer, which is great, but we've got to put it in the other person's perspective. What do they lack and what do they think? Number one, what do they think they need? Because you have to answer that question first. And then secondly, you need to answer the here's a provision of ideas that are going to help you get where you need to get to, which could be exactly opposite and different from what you think they need.
Yes. I liked it. Your banner caught my eye in that one, you call yourself a business breakthrough coach. And it made me, I've encountered many coaches, and of course we're working in a business context, but the fact that you said I coach people on breakthroughs. Okay. That was very clear to me. And we all need a breakthrough at various points in time.
True.
But then you have a tagline where people thrive, profits soar. So talk to me a little bit about that. Talk to me about how you, when you pull out your motto, and how it helps you talk about the successes you've had and the successes folks can expect when they engage with you.
Well, I talk about three things from a business perspective: people, performance, and profits. And you cannot have profits if you don't have the right people and you don't have the people performing. And one of my clients came to me and said, everybody talks about how I have to expand, I have to grow, and I don't want to. I don't want staff. And I said, well, you don't have to have. Well, you're the first person that's ever said that to me. I said, but you still need the help in certain areas that a staff could provide. So where are you going to find those people that can help you? And so we started looking at the growth prospect from contractors, right? People who can help you do what they can do because you don't need to spend the time on that because one, you don't like it, two, you don't have the skill, three, it's going to take too long to get the skill. And so when you make those decisions, then you can go and find the people that you need and figure out how it is that you are going to work with them. Well, when that happens, you're growing, right? But you're not growing in the same way that most people think. They think about the growth aspect as being more staff. Well, I've been there, thank you very much, and not willing to go there again. But it depends on the kind of company you have, depends on the kind of future you want in your company. And based on that, you make the decisions that will move you forward in one way or the other.
So I like that because I've encountered, as I'm interviewing different folks or hosting different guests on the podcast, I've certainly heard this story or similar stories about I used to have a bigger team before COVID, and here's how things have changed.
You bet.
And I can relate that to that as well. I used to have a very large team when I worked in a corporate setting, and then I became an individual contributor. And whereas my ego took a hit, I suddenly realized, oh, I kind of like this new freedom, and
The
I can add
responsibility.
value just the same as when I led that very big team. Um, but wonderful point. There's multiple ways to drive growth in your business, and there's multiple ways to support that growth that don't necessarily mean immediately going out and hiring somebody. It means finding the help where you need it and putting your time where your time is deployed best. So, small pivot. You wrote a book. You wrote a book called Unstoppable. And tell me about the audience for your book, how you came about wanting to write a book, and where it's helped in your people focused business.
Okay, a couple of things there. You've got several
I know. I
requests
like
there.
doing that. I like throwing three questions at you and making you remember them all. I'm happy to repeat them.
So looking at this, I wrote the book, and I have to tell you that it took me 7 years.
Wow.
Start, stop, throw it out, start again, do something different, etc. And then a chap by the name of Peter Bender here in Canada, he's passed away now, but he was a tremendous speaker. In front of audiences, the man was great. And he said to me one day, he said, why don't you just do a study between different facets? And I'm thinking about facets. Okay, what could that be? And then I came up with the idea of I would look at success from a perspective of American women and Canadian women. So very unscientific, but I got the names from online, etc., from people that I knew, and then I started quizzing those individuals, having them fill out a questionnaire and then a conversation, etc., to find out what was really important for success. And it didn't matter to me whether they were in business or whether they were, the best grandma or the best, backbencher, etc., volunteer. It didn't matter. How did we define success? And in the end, that whole group came up with differences. And it was interesting. We had 7 or 8 different items. And within those, the Americans and the Canadians, all the women suggested the same things. So, looking at what's important to you. So, number one was belief, right? Sorry, that's number two. Positive attitude. So, everybody said, yeah, you got to have a positive attitude. Bad things happen. We're human. And so consequently, it's what can we find as a silver lining there? So things went on and on and on so that they were the same from that until we got down to the very last point was Canadian women thought that they needed the mental acuity. They had to have the mental conditioning to be able to view things and be able to look beyond what was happening to make it, number one, positive, but number two, could they live with it? Whereas the American women who responded at that stage, they looked at it and said, it's got to be that belief in a higher power. And so it was interesting to see everything was the same until we got to those two areas. But that element about success is not just inward. Success is also surrounding ourselves with the kinds of people that allow us to see and be who we are. That's really important because if you have a client that can't see your success within you as a human being, but also, sure, within your business as well, if they can't see both of those, they're not your client. They're somebody else's client.
I like that. And I think that's a good place to conclude. I think being unstoppable has lessons, as you said, for every person, and certainly for American and Canadian and other women in the workplace. But I also like applying those same lessons to your own business as an entrepreneur, and finding those common threads of unstoppability that can help you persevere through the highs and the lows that you mentioned previously.
You bet. Always.
Excellent. Okay. So, Sherry, two final questions. One, if somebody wants to get the book,
Okay.
how do they get it?
They can go onto Amazon.
Okay.
Or they can order it directly from me. And if they order it directly from me, I sign it to whoever they would like to have.
Wonderful.
Yes.
Okay. So buy it on Amazon, unsigned, buy it directly from you, get it signed. And then the last question, if somebody heard something today and they'd like to get in touch with you or reach out and chat, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
Well, probably email sherry@dimension11.com. So that's one. And the other, I love to talk to people. So telephone 306-596-5254 is my cell, which is connected to my business line. So there you go.
I think I heard 306-596-5254.
596-5254. Right.
I'll include that with the description of the podcast as well.
Wonderful.
Sherry, it's been a pleasure speaking with you today. And it was a pleasure to have Columbus on as well. Although he said, I'm bored with this podcast. Anyway, very, very nice to have you as a guest. And even though I didn't ask you to bring gifts, I heard you mention a checklist for new businesses. I started my own business 2 months ago. I'd love to have that checklist.
You bet.
In any event. Okay.
I'll
send you an email about that.
Sounds perfect.
Terrific. Sherry, thank you so much for being our guest.
Have a super day.
You as well.